Good afternoon. It's Wednesday. I'm Bill Ham, and this is Real Estate Raw. Thanks for joining me. Today's topic for our call is going to be multifamily asset management. So today we're going to be talking about asset management for multifamily, and so we're going to be discussing the difference between property management and asset management. What is asset management? What's it involve? What should you be doing? These are going to be for people that are either currently or may become asset managers in multifamily. I want to introduce Monica Wyndham, who is usually behind the scenes here. I imagine she's here today. She runs this with me and is in the chat. I'm up here on front. Monica has many years of property management experience as well as asset management experience. So hopefully she'll be chiming in over here in the chat. All right, so today we're going to be talking about asset management. So first off, let's discuss the difference between asset management and property management. That's probably one of the biggest questions I get early on is like, what's the difference? Okay, so property management quickly is managing the actual operations of the property day in and day out, right? So property managers are the ones that are collecting the rent. They're the ones, typically paying the bills. They're doing all that. Money comes in. They're recording it. They're paying the expenses. They're writing all that stuff up to a certain point, right? Leasing, doing all that kind of stuff. That's property management. Asset management is, as we call it, managing the manager. All right. So that's the difference. So asset managers are going to be in the general partnership group, or they're going to be an owner typically of some kind. So when you go in, you buy this, let's just say for an example, this 100-unit apartment complex, right? And what we're talking about bigger deals today. You bought this 100-unit apartment complex and you're going to hire a third-party management company to come in and manage that property, as I was just saying, collect the rent, deal with the general operations. Okay, but who do they report to? When they have to call somebody, who are they talking to? When you need to deal with it, when you're dealing with the investors and you're dealing with distributions and all this stuff, that's the asset manager, right? So asset manager manages the manager. Asset manager is typically on the general partner team or one of the owners. Not always. The ownership team, a general partner, could hire third-party asset management, right? You could hire someone to come in and do that for you. But typically speaking, in most deals, especially in everybody sort of on our level, doing private deals, if we're talking large institutional stuff, yeah, they typically have third-party asset management firms and people that specialize in that. But for I think most of the viewers here, most of the people that are in our level, we're probably either on an asset management team or managing these things ourselves, or you might be a limited partner. And that's who I'm also talking to today, limited partners who have invested in other deals, and you need to pay attention to the asset managers of those deals. So that's kind of who we are. We're probably either we're the manager ourselves or we're working with managers. Again, I want to remind everybody, now that we got a few people in here, say hi, tell me who you are, post in the chat over here. If anybody has any questions at any point in time, throw those questions in there as well. We'll get to them. So, okay, so property manager, that's who we've hired to come in, deal with the day-to-day operations. Asset manager is the go-between between the investors, and by the way, I'm kind of assuming this is probably a syndicated deal, but maybe the investors and that property manager, right? So let's say I'm in this 100-unit deal. I'm going to be the asset manager. I'm going to be making sure that the property management company is doing what they're supposed to be doing day in and day out. And I'm also now reporting to the investors. Let's call those the limited partners, and I'll be the general partner, right? So I'm going to be the go-between. Now, what am I doing day in and day out? Not that much. Not as much as you might think. So first comment, asset management is not something that I would really, not something I would give a bunch of equity to someone to do. All right, another call we'll do on partnering, but for now, I see a lot of people that come along and say, "Oh, I'll asset manage, therefore give me X% ownership in the business." I don't think that's a great value unless someone really comes on with a lot of asset management experience. I probably would not give equity for that. I would find someone like Monica or myself who actually has that experience, and then hire us. And you don't need to give away equity. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But anyway, so okay, so you're now the asset manager. You're going to get reporting, and you're going to report to the property management company. Step number one, I recommend that you have a weekly meeting with the property management company. Someone on the asset management team, right? The general partner team should be meeting with the property management company at least once a week. We have what we call a Monday morning report. Monica, actually, and now that I'm saying that out loud, if you have a copy of that, and I'll throw it in here if you don't, we can give away the Monday morning report here if everybody wants our sort of reporting format that Monica and I use for our property management companies. Feel free to stick that in there, Monica. But what we do is we give the management company this template, and they fill it out every single week. They give it back to us Monday, Tuesday. I just call it a Monday report. And at the beginning of the week, in the onset of the week, typically meet with the company via phone, Zoom, whatever, and go over these KPIs, key performance indicators that are in that spreadsheet. And it's going to be things like move in, move out, how many units were turned, maintenance completed, money collected, money not collected. That's important. And the idea, as you, the asset manager, are going to be keeping an eye on the management company, making sure that they have someone to report to, that their feet are held to the fire now, and that they're kind of doing the things they're supposed to do. Let me pause here for a second. This is for all of the people out here who think you know more than the management company. You're not the management company, you're the asset manager. Please don't get on the call with your property management company every single week and say a bunch of dumb stuff like, hey, we need to collect the rent and make sure you're, collecting the rent and doing repairs and maintenance. I'm speaking from experience. I've been an asset manager on all my deals as well as a GP on all the deals. And so I don't know how many times Monica and I have had to get on partnership calls where she and I had to sit here and listen to one of my general partners say a bunch of dumb stuff because they just didn't have anything else to say, right? And we would sit there for I don't know how long on calls where one of my partners would be like, hey, make sure we're collecting the rent today, and I'm always sitting over here as the actual manager going, thank you for saying that. I'm so glad you told us to collect the rent today. We all showed up at the office and had no idea how to run a property today till you got on here and told us to collect the rent. Thank you. I'm taking notes. Collect the rent. That will wear your property management out. I know it sounds funny, but really, literally, know that you've hired a good property management company, and if they suck, fire them. But don't micromanage the property management company. Get on there, get in, get out, get on that Monday call, have your metrics set up, know what you're doing, hit your report, and go. Don't carry on and on and on and talk about stuff that wastes too much time. And I see way too many new asset managers who are a bit uncomfortable with management doing this kind of stuff. So know that you've hired a good management company and have confidence in that, and don't micromanage. Monica, jump in there for me. What have you got? Yeah. So anyway, that's where you want to be at with that. So no, don't sit there and carry on and micromanage or wear the staff out. I already said that. So reporting. So besides this Monday morning report you're going to get, you should be getting monthly a rent roll and the updated trailing 12. All right, trailing 12 or profit and loss in a month-to-month format. So that's just the financials. You need to be getting the financials every single month. If your property management company is set up correctly and you're working with maybe a little bit larger company, you really want to be paying attention to what we call a variance report. All right, now for that, the property management company has to set a budget. That means you, the asset manager, would have had to have created a budget for this property. All right, so you've created a budget, should be the income, the expenses, and all that. You give that to the property management company, and now they're going to each month, each week, however you want to see the report, they're going to run this variance report to show the difference between what the budget said they should have done and what they actually did do. And so that report is something you want to keep an eye on so that you can tell where they're off. It's like, hey, you're supposed to be spending this amount for repairs and maintenance. We see you spending a lot more or a lot less, or whatever the case is. So that's some of the stuff you want to be watching there. Your variance report. Okay, you're going to as the asset manager, you're going to process this data weekly, and then compile it, or maybe you do it monthly. Quarterly or monthly, you're going to now distribute this information out to your partners or to your limited partners. Now, I'm not telling you this is how you have to do it. I'm just saying from experience, this is how I've done it. And it's a pretty good way. If you're dealing with a syndicated deal, GPLP, you have limited partners you're making distributions to. Quarterly is pretty good structure for disseminating information and profits. I know a lot of people do it on a monthly basis, and there's a lot of sort of debate. Should you make distributions monthly? Should you report to all your partners monthly or quarterly? That's your choice. But I would recommend quarterly because it gives you a little more flexibility. It gives you a little more time to pivot and deal with things. Budgets don't always go the way you think. Distributions are not always ready when you want them to be. Again, Monica and I know all too well. So that's why I say quarterly is a little bit better. And then you can kind of give the investors a quarterly report. So as the asset manager, what you want to be doing is gathering all of those T12s and all that, and create a quarterly 3-month statement you're going to send out to your investors. What I would recommend is just write up a small summary about what occurred over that quarter, attach that to the T12, maybe with a rent roll, send that out to your investors along with any sort of distributions, cash distributions that you might be making. If you're doing that, you're probably handling your asset management pretty well. And that's largely what you're doing. So you're the go between the property. You're managing the actual managers. You're the one that's ultimately in charge. But remember, you're also managing your investors. So I recommend no more than one, maybe two people, actual humans, that are the asset managers. This is where, again, you have problems. Monica and I have had to report to too large an asset management group, and we're getting on the call with 5 or 6 partners, and you can imagine they all have to have their turn saying something. They all have their 2 cents. They all have their opinion, and it's tiresome and wastes a lot of time. So from experience, I recommend that you, as a general partnership group, be able to pick one person, maybe two, but really one that you can say that's the CEO. Maybe they don't own all the equity, maybe they don't have all the voting rights, but that's going to be the person that's ultimately in charge. Let's let them be the one that talks to the property management company. Let's let them be the one that is the tip of the spear in communications. Otherwise, your property management winds up with like 6 different bosses, right? You got one partner calling up on Tuesday telling them to do this, and you got another partner on Thursday saying, no, 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 go do this. And the management gets worn out like that. So that's why I really say to, just one form of communication to the management company. That's you, the asset manager. You should be managing them on a regular basis, weekly meetings, watching your KPIs. Those can be different for different properties. Monday morning report, get that filled out every Monday or weekly, right? Monthly reporting, and then monthly reporting turns into a quarterly report that you put together, compile, send out to your investors with some sort of summary. That's the gist of asset management there. Now, as an asset manager, one of the more things you're going to be doing here above the general description, renovations, project management, running things of that nature. So you're if you're doing heavy lift reno, like Monica and I have done a lot of really heavy renovation where a lot of money is sitting over at the bank, like hundreds of thousands of dollars are sitting in escrow over here at the bank, and now she and I are having to go over here and get the work done. We're having to spend the money, but then again, all that money is sitting over in escrow. We got to spend the money, get the money out of escrow. That's asset management, and it's the sort of getting the work done, getting the money spent, getting the checks and all that back from the contractors, making sure the money's spent, and then turning those reports into your bank. That is something asset management does, not typically property management. So when you're turning in your escrows and your stuff you're working with the bank and that reporting, you probably want to be doing that as the owner, not necessarily the property manager. I don't like giving the property management that much information, that much control over what's going on. So now we're adding in the lender. So now as the asset manager, I'm the liaison between the property manager, manage the manager. I'm the liaison between the LPs, and now I'm also the liaison between the bank. And those are your three that you're pretty much going to be managing. The bank and the lending shouldn't be too big of a deal. The property management might make the actual mortgage payment each month, but you're making sure that's in order. If there's any issue with the lender, you're the one talking to the lender. You're the one dealing with the loan. When loan maturity comes up, all this stuff, asset manager handles all of that. Yeah, reporting to the bank. A bank's probably going to want to see quarterly reporting, depending on the lender, but typically quarterly is pretty standard. So you're going to be turning in that quarterly report to your lender as well as to any LPs and things of that nature. So that's more or less the gist of property management and asset management. Reach out to Monica. She'll give you any of those templates that we have. We have tons. Please feel free to them. That Monday morning report, just reach out to her and she can get it to you. Excellent. Anthony, I was just typing up questions, ask benefits of doing it quarterly versus monthly. Yeah, exactly. There you go, man. You can do either, but again, I just find like monthly is a pain in the rear end, right? You're just answering the phone too much. You're talking to investors too much. You're sending out stuff too much. Really just stick to quarterly, I would say. Now, again, a lot of people may have different opinions, but that's just mine. All right, Monica, don't be reactive with property managers. Great tip. And so let me kind of give you a history. I came up buying real estate. And so my perspective of being an asset manager was always from the perspective of being the owner as well as owning the management company. I've been both. Monica came up with me as a property manager. Then she sort of became the head of my company and ran all of my company. Now Monica has a perspective of being a consultant in the asset management world. So you really want to listen to what she has to say if it comes down to this kind of stuff, because she's in the front line. Right now I've sold everything. I'm good. I'm semi-retired. I'm just hanging out. But Monica's on the front lines with real life situations consulting with people right now. So if anybody needs any help, reach out to either one of us. But yeah, good insights. Appreciate that. Focus on the proactive problem solving together. Yep, absolutely. And you know, again, to reiterate what you're saying here, it's that weekly reporting thing. And that's where I've been lazy. And that's where I know in the beginning of property management, when I first set my company up, you know, I always thought, gosh, there's all these reports. You know, it seems like these commercial managers are always just filling out reports, report this, TPS reports, you know, all this kind of garbage, right? And I thought that's stupid. And I thought we're going to let our people kind of just be more organic and you know, we'll be a family and we'll run the business. Yeah, hold on. That works great when you're small, but it's not scalable. And when you start to grow as a company, you really have to kind of start putting your systems in place. And it is the reporting that gives you the clarity of what you're doing. And that's why it's so important that if you run your own management company, by the way, that your employees, you know, do this reporting upward, because it makes them conscious of the numbers. Okay, and there's my ultimate point. Hey, as the asset management, you need to be very conscious of the numbers on a very regular basis, which is Monica's point here and mine as well. If you follow those indicators and you do that weekly Monday report and you're keeping an eye on stuff, it tends to not get away from you, right? But if you're not paying attention, then all of a sudden you have a big problem. Let me also make the comment here, there's no such thing as bad property management, only bad owners. All right. So I hate it when somebody gets on the call and they go, oh, property management sucks and property management did this to me and property management did that to me. And I sit there and think, yeah, but you let it happen. You know, you're the asset manager and you should be in a position where you took control of that before that occurred. So I'm going to point the finger in that regard. Don't come to me saying there's, you know, bad management did this, that, and the other. Now, let me completely turn that page over. There's no such thing as a good management company. Don't worry about it. I built one, I own one, I know what I'm talking about. All management sucks. All property management is terrible. So you need to be a good asset manager because you're turning over your multi-million-dollar you know, property to an employee that goes home at 5 o'clock, and that's the reality of property management. You know, they are employees. They are not going to care for that property like you do. They're professionals. Hire a good company, but don't turn your back and don't go away and don't be an out of town owner and don't not ever show up to your property. I don't know how many times I've gone in and bought property and I say, you know, when's the last time you saw the owner? And they go, who's the owner? You know, I hadn't seen him in years, or her, or whoever. That's not good. That's not good asset management. Asset management should be present and visible. You should, by the way, I didn't say this, you should probably show up on your property once a quarter at a minimum. Now, if a property is running well and, you know, the occupancy is good and everything's going okay and there's no real big deals, then, you know, once every quarter or so you stop by or something. If there's a problem, you probably want to be out there once a month. So consider this when you're thinking about purchasing property at great distance from wherever you live. Right? If you're working with me, if you're one of my students, I know there's a few of you here. I've already talked about that circle approach, right? You got to be careful about picking a market that is too far away from your starting point because you're gonna have to go over there. You're gonna have to travel. You're gonna have to deal with it when there's a problem. You're gonna have to go there. Did you consider that when you were thinking about your market and your market selection, or did you just go randomly picking out markets because you know somebody gave you some numbers or some other stats or whatever, right? So think about that when you're choosing a market. Things don't always go well. Sometimes they don't. What are you going to do if something goes bad? Can you go there? And is this going to be disruptive for your life, right? These are just tips from somebody who's actually had that happen to them. So anyway, all right. So property management, that's again you the people that are actually handling the day in and day out. Asset management, that's you, manager of the manager, manager of the bank, manager of the limited partners, mostly the uh, you know, controllers of the info that goes between all things. And you're the one that is likely, by the way, as a general partner to have signed that mortgage. So nothing to do with asset management necessarily, but chances are you're one and the same. So you're going to be incentivized to do the best you can. Report early, report often. If you have bad news, what I have found is go ahead, like everybody says, you know, better off to put that out there early. Here's what I have found from experience with investors. They're not usually paying any attention. They don't usually care. So look, you know, I've worked with several clients recently that have had some issues with their properties. You know, they've had some operational issues. They've got loans coming due. And every one of my clients have said, listen, you've got to get ahead of this as far as the narrative. Write up a letter, send it to your limited partners. Just say, hey, this is where we are. This is what's occurred. Disclose, because if you don't disclose, you may be taking some of that liability for not saying something. And every single time I've had one of these people send out these letters, nobody responds. The LPs they just don't even respond. They don't say anything. But at least that general partner, at least the asset manager, has done their job. They sent a letter. They said, here's the state, here's the condition, here's what's up. No one can show up now and say that asset manager didn't tell them. Because if you'd have told me, I would have done something different. That's what we're trying to hedge against. So if you're reporting and you're clear with information, you're protecting yourself, because you don't want some limited partner or some investor later on to come back and say, you never told me. If I'd have known this, I would have done this, that, and the other. Therefore, I'm mad at you. So that's, again, not legal advice and not accounting advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. But that is some asset management advice from someone who's been out here doing it for an awful long time. Disclose up front, share bad news quick. You'd be surprised. The reaction is not usually going to be anywhere near as bad as you thought. So better off to CYA, send those letters out, tell everybody what's going on. All right, so that's asset management. If anybody has any other questions, throw them in here. So Roger, thank you for signing up for the newsletter. Yeah, we have newsletter. I have a ton of information over on the main site, Real Estate Raw, same as the Facebook group here. So if you're not signed up for the information over there, and I've got about 80 some odd articles in my blog. So if you need other information, just go in there and type in your search word. You'll probably pull up something. I've probably written some article on the topic. Realestateraw.com, check that out. Monica and I both offer services in the sense of asset management and as well as helping people get into the program. So if you need any help, just DM Sheer myself or hit me up on the website, Real Estate Raw, and we will get back with you and get you the help you need. Thanks for stopping by. This is a regular session. If there's anybody in here new for the first time, we do this every single week, 2 o'clock, Wednesday, same bat channel, same bat time. See you next week.